I'd like to talk a little bit about health insurance because I think it's one of those issues that's been very much discussed recently. And it's been very much of a priority of the board. The budget for next year assumes a 2% increase. And it's $100,000. And it's solely for the purpose of new enrollees. So we open our plan up as something called new enrollment. Every June, we open it up. And any employee has a right to come onto the program, add dependents and such. So that's what we've set aside that money for, is for new enrollments. We hired a consultant back in December to assist in bidding out our insurance plans and evaluating those bids. The first round of bids resulted in increases between 4.9 and 15.2%. We received a total of 4 quotes. It was determined that we could not afford that. Even though the 4.9% looks pretty attractive compared to where we've been in the past, it's not affordable for next year. So the goal is to put forth an expense-neutral plan that's fair to all parties, fair is affordable to the town, and fair to the employees is a plan that they feel comfortable offering to themselves and their families. We have an ongoing dialogue with our unions through the Employee Insurance Advisory Committee, and that's to comply with the Mass General Law. So we don't have the unilateral right to just go ahead and switch our health insurance plans. It's something that's done under the law. Those who work in the, have followed the newspapers, you see this is an extremely prominent issue that's being discussed throughout the state right now. So what we're looking for is an understanding from our employees, an understanding of the town's situation, and moving toward an affordable plan for our August 1st renewal. I expect that we'll have expense-neutral quotes due this week. I expect that we'll have 3 quotes. I would anticipate that those quotes will come in under 0%. So we will be able to meet the board's goal in terms of coming in with a plan that has no increase. And the decision on the new plan will have to become effective, and we'll have to make that decision in May to anticipate the August 1st renewal date. Let's skip over that. So in summary, the key budget actions are as follows. Propose a balanced budget to available funds of $50.2 million. Fund our Quinn bill obligations, our snow reserves, and our anticipated liabilities that we have for the current year and for next year. Advance our municipal health insurance plan design changes and limit the growth in the health insurance budget to 2%. That we look to fund our snow deficit, our road program, and the little school boiler, and we have money set aside to be able to do all of those things. That we continue to monitor our unfunded exposures, fuel and utilities, retirements, and veterans benefits. That we allocate additional funds from the Water Department Enterprise Fund for indirect costs. And then finally, that we continue to maintain key reserves with a caveat that we'll be increasing the drawdown from the Capital Stabilization Fund. So that's a summary of the budget. I appreciate you taking the time to listen, and I would be more than happy, along with the board, to entertain any questions. Thank you.
We can start with questions from the audience. Anyone? Mrs. Bailey, could you, yes, please.
Marcy Bailey, 21 Duane Drive. Regarding the capital projects,
Right.
Mr. Valiakonis, the boiler and the other ones of significant dollar amounts, did the debt service chart that you show include the debt service for those
I'm
projects?
expecting that we'll be able to fund the road program from cash. So there'll be no, I don't anticipate there'll be any borrowing on the road program.
From free cash?
Correct. Free cash and a combination of available funds. And then on the little school boiler, my thought is that we do a borrowing, but we do it with the understanding, because you saw that debt schedule, that we do it with the understanding that if we have available funds in October town meeting, we amend the vote and we fund it from cash versus going ahead and doing a borrowing. Failing that, then we'll have to do it in the form of a borrowing.
But that, excuse me, but that debt schedule does not include
No,
any of those
Does
items.
not.
It does not.
No.
My
The debt
apologies.
schedule includes everything that has been borrowed up to now, right through last October town meeting. Doesn't include any borrowing for future meetings.
And so if the funding for the boiler were to be amended in October, that would be from free cash from fiscal year 2011?
Exactly.
Okay. And the school technology?
Same thing. We're gonna have to fund school technology at June town meeting. And,
That can't be bonded, right? Yes,
it
no?
can be bonded, but the bonding schedule is fairly short. I think it might be 3 years or 5 years at the most. And we need to really work through that process in terms of how we're gonna fund that. We're not quite there yet.
Okay, okay. Well, I guess, ma'am, take the opportunity to make a brief comment at this time.
Please.
Okay, thank you. Firstly, I'd like to thank the board, the finance committee, the school committee, town administrator, and the school administrators for working so hard. And I really think it's a testament to your financial management over the past 4 to 5 years that the town is so stable during these difficult times. So I really commend you, and I appreciate the hard work that goes into that effort and for that success. That being said, I would just encourage you from now until town meeting to watch state aid, watch things like the school circuit breaker. The school committee, I know, is meeting crosstown now, and I don't know what they're going to decide. The budget shown to the public at the school committee public hearing did show some personnel cuts, and it did show some cuts because of the personnel cuts, some cuts to programs that would directly impact students in the form of additional study halls, in the form of less use of technology in the schools, especially at a time when we're funding capital school technology for $60,000 to $90,000. And on a $50 million budget, you've come so very close. I guess I would just like to say that I would hate to see an $18,000 foreign language teacher, part-time foreign language teacher, go away and put over 200 children in study halls again next year because of that. So I would just ask you to keep your eye on the ball as you have, and to try to work to close that gap, should it exist when we go to town meeting on June 6th. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience have any questions? Yes, sir.
Thank you. Dan Driscoll, 6 Equestrian Drive. I just want to second what Mrs. Bailey said about the work. I mean, you guys have all done yeoman's work to get us to this point, and it hasn't been a one-year effort either. I understand everything that's been going on for the last several years, so I do appreciate that very much. But to follow up on another thing that Mrs. Bailey said is on the education side. As difficult as the financial times are, we cannot be cutting any programs from the North Reading school systems. I mean, I've always said our schools they do an extraordinary job with an average amount of investment. We don't invest a lot when you look at how much investment we make per kid and per student. We are well below many of the town's averages in the towns that we compare ourselves to. Every year, a little more. We keep cutting a little more. We keep cutting a little more. And I understand this because we have to, and the money's not there. But we got to figure something else out. We cannot be cutting anything, whether it's that foreign language teacher, or if it's technology, or if it's English classes. Just 2 years ago, our 7th grade kids had 2 English classes. Phenomenal. It was phenomenal. And those kids, they got smarter, their English was better, their writing was better, and you saw it in their MCAS scores. Now, we don't have that program available anymore. And it was only probably 4 or 5 years ago, as Mr. Bailey was talking about, with the study halls. We had a tremendous amount of kids. My kid, I stood up in the room over there and told you about my kid in study hall 4 or 5 times a week. We turned that around. We cannot go back to those times again. We can't afford to let one foreign language teacher go. My 7th graders, I have 2 7th graders right now, they have 1 quarter that they can take in a foreign language. And that's in 7th grade. Most of the towns that we deal with that are our peers, they're getting full-time foreign language programs in 6th grade. We have it for 1 quarter in 7th grade. We got to do everything we can to hold on to the average services that we have in our schools. We have an extraordinary staff who have done a great job, but we're only making average investments in the future education of our kids. So I commend you for everything that you've done, but I would think we need to dig down deeper and fund at least to maintain the services for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am?
Good evening, Barbara Thorstad, 1 Tarbox Lane. I know time is precious and money is precious, but I just want to echo the sentiments, and I come here speaking for other people that couldn't get here for other good reasons. We just appreciate what you do and deeply, deeply hope that you will keep the schools and the children and the resources in mind, because when you're out there in the field and volunteering and working with the parents and the resources that they do have, you see kind of on a daily and weekly basis how getting into the have-not category is hurting. It's hurting. So anyway, we do appreciate all your time and efforts, and just hope that the schools stay on the top of your minds, because the students and the parents, we're counting on you, and we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Anyone else? Gentleman in the rear, oh. Woman in the rear.
Pam Ellis, 9 Belmont Lane. I also want to echo that as well and say what I said last week at the school committee meeting, that if we get rid of these programs, we're never going to get them back. And I really don't feel that we can take this step backwards. And I have a future 7th grader who is going to have that 1/4 of the language, and I want to keep it as it is. We should be having the foreign language in the 6th grade or 5th grade and younger, and we don't. And to get rid of the 7th grade language, then what's going to be next? The next year we're going to be getting rid of 8th grade. So I really hope that you keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience? I have some questions, Greg. We're at a $38,000 budget,
Right.
unbalanced budget at this
Right.
point. And you did tell the board last week that you would come back with some ideas and thoughts about how to close that gap.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a challenge, needless to say, and I wanted to hear what people had to say in the audience, but one of the things that we've been looking at is with the slow economy, some of the opportunities that we have for a combination of services exist in some of our permit granting, specifically with regard to the Board of Health and the Building Department. So those would be the 2 departments that I would expect to likely bear the brunt of this reduction, would be those 2 departments, because I feel that the economy necessitates the fact that those are the easiest place to make reductions to.
What were the 2 again?
Board of Health
Yeah.
and Building Department. It also represents an opportunity for us to share some services with some other communities.
So we're pursuing that as...
We are.
Okay. I probably should comment to those people that are here supporting the schools. Hopefully, this is the bottom as we approach fiscal 2012. It's our bottom year, and we have basically reached the point where there is no additional resources to apply to any of the budgets without cutting out some service. You've just heard the town administrator mention that in the process of looking at the workload in those 2 departments, and based on the economy, it's clear that we could reduce the number of hours spent there and hopefully share those resources with 1 or 2 of the communities that are also thinking along the same lines. So finding additional money for the school budget is it's almost impossible without making further cuts to general government, and we have done that consistently over the past several years, and we reached a point where there's no more room to cut. We've also, stretching the use of some of our reserves this year to provide as much money. The school deficit was at $600,000 only a couple weeks weeks ago before we